Next team up. Let's go.
Yeah, two of our players were assaulted. It was we saw the one video. It's the 10-on-1. It's pretty bad. I'm going to let our athletic director Ward Manuel address it with the authorities.
I mean, what a terrible occurrence, right? Just totally marred what is, supposed to be a great game and a really fun game. Rivalry games are supposed to be fun and heated. Yes, I get it. Like, they're supposed to be heated. And by the way, I don't care if players are chippy on the field or before the game, and I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just saying chippy. Like, I understand what players go through. And that being said, what happened on Saturday night was totally uncalled for at Michigan Stadium. Totally uncalled for. So let's get into it, okay? So I'm not going to get into specific players or this or that, or what I think should or shouldn't happen to them specifically. Let's just talk about the altercation, where it happened, and where we should go from here, okay? So let's do that. Let's start with the tunnel. I've heard people say, like, well, it's the stadium's issue and it's the single tunnel at Michigan Stadium and that's the problem. Well, you know what? I don't buy that. They've played football in that stadium for 95 years. There have been hundreds of football games played there throughout, the many decades. And there are very few instances of altercations or anything happening. There have been some, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, this was out of the blue. Listen, I've been there. I've been at games and called games, and Jenny Taft has seen, like, Ohio State and Michigan get into it and have a jawing match in the tunnel. Jim Harbaugh and James Franklin recently have gotten into kind of a war of words through the press about potentially something that happened, an altercation in the tunnel. And now obviously this one, which looks really bad, right? Looks really bad. How about we start realizing that Michigan's probably not going to get into a fist fight with UConn, but when Ohio State or Penn State or Michigan State come into town, like, maybe we should have some more security up there. Like, what was striking to me in those videos, and you've seen them online, what was striking to me in those videos is, like, it was just like regular support staff that was just walking up to the locker room with the guys. Like, there was no security there. So how about we have some extra security on the games that we know there could be some heated emotions? Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State. I don't know, like, put a couple of troopers up there, right? I highly doubt that this thing gets the way that it does if there's troopers in the tunnel. If there's a rope that is separating one side of the tunnel from the other, and you've got to go down your side, like little things like that. So I do think that there are some changes that they can do procedurally on location, in particular in these specific games, because like I said, hey, when Hawaii is rolling in, like, I don't think they're throwing fists, right? Like, this isn't a problem all the time. So when it could get to this point, like, how about we have some procedures in place? All right, next I want to talk about from a player's perspective. Okay, so that's the location, and I think that they can fix some of those procedures. And by the way, I think that they will. But if I'm on one of those teams, how do I feel right now? Well, really frustrated. And I don't want to be like the old, middle-aged guy who used to play, who's like, well, when I played. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I am trying to think about is those young men that went out there and laid it on the line, win or lose, played their hearts out, and lost. It takes away from everything those guys are trying to do. Both sides. If I'm a Michigan player, I'm really frustrated because this game should have been about the fact that we went out there and really played well. I know they settled for too many field goals, but, Who cares? This should be about the fact that over the last 5 games, Blake Corum's the leading rusher in the country, and he is pressing towards a Heisman candidacy into November. That's what it should be about from Michigan's side. But no, now we can't celebrate. We can't enjoy this victory, which should mean a lot to our program. We're undefeated. We have a chance to beat Michigan State and Ohio State for the first time since, I don't know, like the early 2000s. And no, now we're mired in this, embroiled in this controversy now. So that's a frustrating thing from the Michigan side. It's taking away from the achievement on the field, which is what this is all about. And from the Michigan State side, boy, I am really frustrated that this happened, and probably with some of my own teammates. And the reason is because the actions of a few have now painted the whole with a broad brush. Now everybody's going to be coming in with that microscope and talking about culture, talking about discipline, wondering about transfers. Is that why this is happening? Is Mel Tucker not disciplined? What's going on at Michigan State? So all of a sudden, you have entered into the equation all the distractions that everybody is always trying to keep out. So as a teammate, I would be furious about that. Don't paint me with that brush. The actions of a few are not representative of the whole. I know a lot of those Michigan State players. I've covered them over the years. Those are really good young men. I know Mel Tucker. Yeah, was I thrilled that he left Colorado as an alum? No. Did I understand? Absolutely. Right? Like, look at the opportunity that he got. I know the type of coach that he is. I know that he is hard-nosed. I know some of his assistant coaches know him well. In fact, I played for one of them. And now these guys are going to have to go through a period of time where all of us media members are going to walk in and be like, well, what's your culture like? That's distracting and it's frustrating as a teammate. And I feel bad for those kids because I know what it's like to be on a team and be in a program that gets painted with a brush that's broad and unfair. And I feel like that's going to start happening to Michigan State. And then the last thing that I'll say on this is, like, I just want this to run its course in its natural progression. I don't really want to hear from the coaches and their feelings. I don't really want to hear from the players either. I want this thing to run its natural course through the investigation. It is, by the way, I should note that late last night on Sunday, there was some news that popped up about the investigation that was ongoing. In fact, Mel Tucker, I think, put out a statement. Michigan State put out a statement, and it essentially said that 4 players for Sparty, 4 Michigan State players, have been suspended indefinitely. There was some language about cooperating fully with law enforcement in their investigation, the Big Ten Conference, the administration from both schools. So everyone's involved. And what I want is for this to run its proper course. Let's just put it this way. If and because law enforcement is involved, let's all take a step back and let them do their job. Let them do their job, because what I want is for this to end justly so that we can get back to the business of celebrating college football and the players playing it. That's what I want.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College football on Fox.